Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat. And today we're doing the opening splash screen in Microsoft Access for the Southern Dog Club. And just here's a dog club we belong to. And yeah, it's not splash as in splashing around in the water like these guys were doing. There's our little guy Murphy there. But it's a splash opening screen. So lots of our computer applications have one of these kind of opening screens, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we'll show you what we mean by this. So here's our database. So if you double click on this, what's going to happen is it will open up and okay. There we go, that's the splash screen, okay? Kind of an introductory screen, and then we come into our application. And you'll notice also that we don't have the ribbon up here, and we do not have any navigation panel at the side. We've kind of cleaned up this whole layout here, and we've cleaned up a few things on the form as well, which we're gonna do in this lesson. We've got a show ribbon button, so you can bring the ribbon back if the member, say, for example, was wanted to print out this contacts list or save it to a PDF. And if we don't want the ribbon there taking up space, we can just hide the ribbon. So I'll be adding those show ribbon and hide ribbon buttons onto our form as well during this lesson. Okay, so as we just showed you, there is the splash screen. That's programmed to wait for 4 seconds, and then it just opens up to the main menu, and there are no side navigation pane here with all of the access objects, and there is no ribbon up the top. So the splash screen opens. Now what's on the splash screen is we usually have a heading about what the organization is or the application. We've got what version number it is, and also a copyright message here as well. So they're kind of the three labels we'll be putting on there, which are standard things for a splash form. All right, now we've got some builders working next door today. I hope you can't hear the sound there, but we'll see how we go. All right, now the playback speed. We're a bit of a slow talker, so remember on the video toolbar at the bottom, there's this cog wheel, and you click on that and you can get to playback speed. Click on this arrow and change it to like 1.5 or 1.75, and you'll probably find the video flows a lot better. All right, and the other thing is this is going to be a rather long lesson, and so take breaks, get up to a certain stage and then stop. So we've got a timeline index in the video description, so you can finish somewhere, like here at Detailed Design on this one, for example, and then you can just click on this blue number here to resume at that point in the project, all right? So make sure you make use of the video timeline and take breaks. And we've also got downloads for this lesson, so you can get the Splash Start database. All right, so you get the database file. It's already got the main menu and the members and dogs forms on it, or you can just use the one if you're doing our course where you last got up to, because I think the last lesson was doing the main menu, the lesson before this, and it's kind of important you've done that lesson, because then you'll know how to put buttons on forms and how to make background rectangles and do the sort of things we're going to do in here. If you haven't done it, it doesn't matter, because we're going to show you how to do it all again. Perhaps you've got your own database and you can just use that to make a splash screen for, up to you, but it's probably easiest, especially if you're a teacher, to just get the downloads which are in the video description for this lesson, and then your class can use those. So building the splash screen in Access in this lesson involves the following steps. Okay, so we need to create a new blank form, and we save that form as splash screen. We add that background image of the dogs, which comes with the downloads for this lesson. Then we add those three labels that give the name of the application, the copyright message, and the version number. We're going to use the on-timer property to make that, as you saw, that splash screen hangs around for 4 seconds, and then it closes down and the main menu opens up. So we'll be doing all of that. In the database settings, we need to set the splash screen as the first item that loads up when we double clicked in Windows Explorer there and first started the database up. We make the splash screen open first, so we'll show you how to do that. In the database settings, we'll show you how we can remove that left-hand navigation pane from displaying. We'll add some code so that when it loads up, it hides the top of form ribbon in Access. And once you've hidden that ribbon, you can hold down the Shift key to start your database in normal mode again if you need to work on it. So we need to know how to do that. We'll do those show ribbon and hide ribbon buttons on the main menu. And then we're just going to do some tidying up on the forms, all of our forms like the menu, the members and the dogs ones, those three forms, to make sure they don't have scroll bars, maximum, minimum buttons, and things that they don't need on them. So it's going to be a fairly long lesson. And we were hoping that this lesson would kind of mark a significant end point for the Southern Dog Club, but we realized that there was even more things we needed to do to get this application client ready so we can give it to Juanita and she can put it on her machine and start using it. So there's going to be one more lesson about making the application client ready, okay? But this is all the work we're going to get out of the way, 10 things in this lesson, so we better get on with it. The first thing we need to do is create the blank form. So we're starting off by making the splash screen, and the very first step is to go create and then do blank form. Okay, now the form that Access gives you will kind of be a square shaped one, and we've kind of got this rectangular picture for the dogs. All right, so you'll have to get onto that form that Access makes, and just remember you mouse over till you get the double arrows, push down your mouse and you can stretchy here and kind of get this a rectangle shape, kind of like that one is a rectangle shape. Okay, so Access gives you the square one. You need to just stretch it out a bit to make it a rectangle. That should be fairly simple, we hope. And we're ready to put the background image on. So in Layout View, we're going to go to the Format tab, and there's a background image icon on the Format tab. All right, so you could go into the Properties and do the image for the form, but it's much easier to just use this Format tab and go to the background image. Now, we'll show you what we mean. So we've got our blank form opened up there that we've just stretched, and you go Format, and then you have to click on this little triangle right here, which will take you to a Browse folder, and click on this Browse folder, and then that'll open up navigation to where you can go down through all of your folders on your machine to where you've saved that picture from the downloads we give you. So we get that picture and then we just have to click on OK. So single click that so it's highlighted, that's the selected one, and then we click OK, and then we should have our background picture on. Now, we didn't quite guesstimate it properly. The form's a little bit bigger than the background picture, but don't worry about that at the moment. Just leave it as it is, because we'll change the picture size mode property later on to stretch, which will just stretch this picture out so it fills up the whole form, all right? But we can do that later on, so don't worry about that at the moment. As long as it's on your screen like this, it's all good. And it's time to just save this form at the moment as it is. So up in Access in the top left-hand corner, you'll have that save icon. Click on that, and this screen will come save as. We're going to call it Splash Screen without any spaces, just like it is here, and click the OK button, and that's going to save it. All right, now we need to set some splash screen properties. So we're going to do that on the Design tab and open up the Property sheet. And we also need to make sure we're doing these properties for the whole form. And we've got quite a few of them that we need to change. So into the Design tab, onto Property sheet, and then on the property sheet, make sure you use this drop down arrow here to make sure it's on form, because we need to do the properties for the whole form. All right, now to do these properties, we're in layout view at the moment, we can do a list, but we need to change to design view because some of the properties we're going to do, you cannot change them in layout view. They only come up and allow you to change them in design view. So down the bottom right hand corner of your Access screen, you should have those three views there set up, very bottom right hand corner. Make sure you click to this one with the pen and paper, the design view. All right, and then we can work on that. Okay, so you need to swap over to design view. All right, in design view, a very strange thing will happen, that the background image will suddenly go invisible. All right, so suddenly we went to design view by clicking down the bottom right hand corner, and oh no, what's happened? We've lost our whole image. Everything's all messed up. Look, don't worry. Access does this weird thing where it kind of just hides the background image, because if you want to work making buttons and labels and things on the screen, you don't kind of want the background image there distracting you. So that's why it does it. But look, the image is still there, so don't panic and don't worry about that. All right, now, So we've got design and we've got property sheet set up, so that's all good. Now, there's several properties we need to change, quite a few of them. So we've got to set the picture size mode, the auto center, the auto resize, all of these properties. And so on the property sheet, remember, make sure we've used that drop down arrow and we're on form, and we need to be on the format tab while we're doing this. So here they are, there they all are listed, what we need to do, and this is where you find them. Allow data sheet view needs to be no. Picture size mode needs to be stretched. That's going to fix that dog picture like we were talking about, stretch it out to fit on the form. Then we need all of these ones in here. Auto centers, yes. Auto resizes, no. Fit to screens, no. Border style, change that to none. Bracket selectors is no. Navigation buttons is no. Close button is no, and min-max buttons is none. All right, now setting all those properties will make a really nice, plain, ordinary picture come up like we saw at the start of this lesson when we ran the finished product. So there's two more properties as well that we need to change, and they're on the other tab. Now, I don't think in any of our lessons we've been to the other tab before, but we're still on form, and instead of being on the format tab, you click over here on other, and different properties come up, and the first two are the ones we need to change. Okay, pop-up needs to be set as yes, and modal needs to be set as yes. Pop-up being set as yes, make sure that that picture of the dogs pops up in front of anything else that's on the screen so that it'll be in the front and we can see it. Now the modal forces the user has to do something on the form or close it down before they're allowed to do anything else. And the reason we want to set modal is that it means while that splash screen is there for the 4 seconds, the user can't click and mess around with anything else. They have to wait till that splash screen disappears, all right? So that's just to stop the user clicking and trying to click and do silly things while the splash screen is there for 4 seconds. Now, note that the splash screen, that we're going to make it automatically close after 4 seconds, then the main menu opens up like we saw at the start of the lesson, so we will be doing that. Now, once we've done that, we can save the form and go into form view, all right? Now, remember, this is what form view looks like here. So we need to change down the bottom right hand corner into that first one, which is form view. And it's great. We've just got this kind of plain picture here now, and we don't have any kind of scroll bars on it. We don't have any kind of close it down or max min buttons or any of that stuff. It's all gone, it's all clean, and that's what we want for a splash screen. Now, because we set that modal yes, there's no actual okay, we've gone to form view, but we can't go anywhere else now because of that modal. When we go to form view and look at the form, we can't go up the top here and go view and change to design view or layout view, and it won't be down the bottom right hand corner of access either. Everything's been cut off so that we can't do anything with that form. So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot there with setting this modal equals yes. But look, there is a way out of it. You can just right click anywhere on this picture and a little menu will come up, and we can click layout view to get into layout view. Okay, so just right click anywhere on the picture and just do layout view, and then we'll be okay. And we're going to add the splash screen text. So while we're in layout view, go to the design tab. So make sure we're on this tab, design. Now to make a label or write some text on the form, it's this big A, little a. So we click on that button to make it the active tool, all right? Because we want to do a label. So we just click there, so that's highlighted as the active tool. We picked up the tool in our hand, but we haven't actually done anything yet with the tool. What you need to do is just click on your form and it'll kind of make this text box like a label that we can put some writing into. All right, now you can use your mouse, double arrows, just to drag the end of that to make it a bit wider. And inside it, we're just going to type Southern Dog Club System. Okay, so you just type that into the blank label which Access has put onto the form. Press enter at the end of this line. And then we need to make it a lot bigger than that, obviously. So change over to the Format tab here, and you should be able to bold it up with the B. Pick your color here as black writing, black on the letter A. And we're going to use Calibri Detail in size 28, and that'll make it nice and bigger like this. And it should fit between the sand and the person in the jeans there on the form. So that's all good. We've got our first label done, and the first one's always the hardest ones and the other two are going to be easy. So just repeat the same steps. We use that AA icon, click on that to make it active, click onto the form to actually get your little text box you can type into. But the only thing is on these two, we're just going to set the font size 14. We don't need them really big like this first one was. So they're just two labels. We've got our version 1.0, and our copyright information here. And that's our three labels finished and put on the form. So the splash screen is really coming together nicely. Now, Access has kind of controlled these spaces between these other labels, and you can't kind of click on this one and move it up at all because it's actually also grouped them all together in a group. Access loves grouping things together, and we've seen this in previous lessons, and we're going to have to go into design view and do that arrange, remove, layout if you've done the previous lessons. But let's show you here what we have to do. So right click anywhere on the picture part, and this time we're going into design view. So click on design view, and then you'll notice here that our picture is all squashed up. Our form's all squashed up. It looks horrible. Look, that's okay. Don't worry. Design view's just messing with us again. Last time they gave us a completely gray background and we couldn't see our picture at all. This time it's given us a squashed up picture, but it's okay. Our real picture is okay and it's there. And if you go to layout view and form view, it'll all be okay. So don't try and move anything or resize it here. What you need to do is you need to hunt around in this top left-hand corner. There's kind of a plus sign symbol, which is very hard to find. It's just hiding there right in the corner. But if you keep clicking around in that corner, eventually you'll click and all three boxes will become highlighted with the orange boundary around them. So you just need to click and do that, because once they're all highlighted in orange, that means you managed to click that tiny little pain in the neck plus sign, which Access gives us to work with. And we've got that whole group of boxes, all right? So now what we can do is we change from design into the arrange tab here, and we do our arrange and remove layout, which is going to disconnect all those label boxes so that we'll be able to move them around independently, and we can set it up the way that we want to do it, okay? So you can change over now to layout view, and we can move each label around individually, all right? So it might not be obvious here, but we've kind of pushed those up a bit just so there wasn't so much space between them. We just kind of like it looking like this, okay, rather than the way Access had spaced it out up there. It's just a little fussy thing we wanted to do. But also show you how to do the arrange, remove layout so that they are all independent and you can move them around individually. So it's time to just find that top left-hand save icon and save the form and test out the screen. So if we change over to form view, we can test out the screen, making sure it looks okay. All right, now maybe we should stop and just show you something. So we're talking about this layout view, form view, and design view all the time. If you've done our previous lessons, you'll understand this. If you haven't, maybe we need to just go down this bottom right-hand corner here and show you. So this one is form view, where that's how the user or the client has the form to use it to open up the members screen form or to do the members dog screen, okay? And this one here is the layout view. So we've talked about layout view where we're working on it. So we'll just go back to form view and show the ribbon on this one and go into layout view. All right, so that's layout view where you can go to design and the format tab and those sort of things. And this very right-hand side one with the pen and paper kind of working on the board, the right-hand one's design view, okay? When you go into design view, you get a grid. But there's a lot more things you can do in design view. You can open up this tool panel, has a lot more tools, for example. And we can get to the format tab and do things, all right? So they're the three views that we're talking about. If you go to the home tab, you can also use this left-hand view here to go to view, form view, layout view, design view, but you must be on the home tab, all right? So you can click on the home tab and get to layout view. You can click on the home tab, make sure you click there and go to form view. All right, so you can do all those things up here as well. So it's either top left-hand corner or bottom right-hand corner if you want to do those things. All right, so getting back to this, our screen is basically finished, but we need to do all that stuff where it's going to open up automatically, stay there for 4 seconds, then it's going to close down automatically, and then by magic, the main menu form is going to open. So that's the bit that we're working on next. So if you need a break at this stage, by all means take a break, and you can come back to this section, launching the splash screen, okay? So find that in the video timeline index and you can come back here. All right, welcome back. So launching the splash screen. So on that picture part of the form where we've got the splash screen, right click and we need to go into design view. So anywhere in that picture, just right click your mouse and click on design view. And in design view, we need to get on the design tab and go to the property sheet and click on that. And on the property sheet, we're going to this tab, event tab. So we're not on format, we're not on other, we're on the event tab. So make sure you're on that tab. And if you go down here, it's got all the events which we can do things for. So we want to look at having a timer set up. So we're down here in the on timer and timer interval. These two properties here are the ones we're going to change on the event tab. And what we need to do first up is where that 0 is in there, just type in 4,000 and press enter. Now 4,000, wow, that seems like a very big time. It's in milliseconds of time. So 4,000 is actually 4 seconds, all right? If you do the maths, divide 4,000 by 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second, and that'll tell you it's 4 seconds. So anyway, we need 4,000 in there to get our 4-second delay, so make sure you've typed that in. And then we need to look at the on timer property, the other one. And for that one, you can see here we've done our timer interval and we've got our 4,000 in it there. Now the one above it, on timer, what you need to do is you need to click into this box just here, and then this triple dots will come up, and that's called the builder button. And you click the triple dots and, well, I shouldn't have done that. Can I just go back? Okay, so you click the triple dots and what will happen is, let's go back again. So I've really messed this up. Okay, so we're on the on timer property. We click in this box here, the triple dots comes up. When you click the triple dots, this panel will open up where you can pick macro builder, expression or code. We're using macro builder, so just click on that first one and click the OK button. When you do that, it'll go into the macro tools here, into the macro builder. You can see it's quite a different screen than what we're used to seeing in Access. And there's a drop down arrow here. There'll just be this one empty box and a drop down arrow. You click that drop down arrow and the thing we're looking for is close window. Okay, so I want this 4-second timer and then we want to close that splash screen off. So click on the close window event. All right, and that's going to be all good for that bit. And for the close window action, it'll build an action now, and you'll have this action called close window. And you need to just expand, click on this little button if you have to make it all open up. The object we want to close is a form. So on this drop down arrow, there'll be different things you can close. Use that drop down arrow and pick form. And the particular form we want to close, this is not the main menu, it's not the members, it's not the dogs form, it's the splash screen one, the new one we've made. So on this down arrow, make sure you click and pick on splash screen. And that bit will be done. So that's going to be the bit that closes off the form. Now, when the form closes, we want it to kind of trigger and kick off starting up the main menu form, and we can add that in here as well. So see how there's another empty box here that says add new action? We can actually add a second action. So if we click on this blue on this drop down list button here, and what we want to do here is pick an open form action, all right? So we've closed this one off, the splash screen, and we want to do is we want to do an open form and open up the main menu. So use this one here, we're adding in another action. You can have more than one action on one of these macro panel screens. So click that down arrow and we want to open form, okay? And then when you've got that open form action there was our close window one. There's now an open form one. You might have to click on this little sign in the bottom here to expand it out. But the form name, click this down arrow and out of the names, pick main menu. That's the form we want to do. View is on form, so that needs to be on form. Use the down arrow if it is not on form. And so what we've managed to do here is that for this on timer, this event that's going to last for 4,000 milliseconds or 4 seconds, what's going to happen is when the time is finished, when we've done our 4 seconds, it's going to do a close window on the splash screen to close the splash screen down. And then after that, it's going to do an open form and it's going to open up the main menu form, all right? Which is exactly what we saw happen at the start of the lesson. So I finished with the macro builder. So up the top where it's got its little ribbon, first click its save button, the blue one, and then click the close, and that'll kind of save and close all this macro business with the 2 actions we've done just here. All right, now launching the splash screen. We also need to actually save the form now. We just made the macro builder and save that. You also need to use your good old brownie, your brown save icon up the top left-hand corner of Access and save the form. Or you can do Control and S is another way to save forms. So if your ribbon was hidden at the moment, you can hold down the CTRL key, hold that down with your left hand and press the S key and that'll do a save as well, Control and S. Either way, make sure you save the form. All right, in the gray area of design view, so we're in design view here at the moment on our form. Now, just anywhere where this gray part is, just right click and select form view and click on that. And what will happen is we will see our splash screen here and we've got all of the writing on it okay. And then after 4 seconds, that screen will actually close and we'll have the main menu open up and replace it, all right? So that's what we did inside that kind of on timer event. We set it up so that this one stays on for 4 seconds and then this one comes on. So one closes and the other one opens up. So we've got that all working and it's going great. All right, so the final step for launching the splash screen is we need to now look at what happens when they're first starting up the database. So they're in Windows File Explorer and they just double click the Access file to get the whole thing started right at the very start of things. So the final step is we want the splash screen to start up as the first thing. So to do that, we have to go into database options. So click on this file up the very top left-hand corner. There's a thing called file. Click on that and lots of things open up in this big brown box. We actually need to go right down the bottom here to options and click on options. Now options will be set on general. You need to click on this second one, current database, because you want to do options for the current database. So change that from general to click on current database. These ones will open up. And we want to then just change where it says display form. The form that's going to display when the database starts up is the splash screen. That's what we want to pick. So use this down arrow here. We don't want any of those other forms that we've got in our system. We want this new one, the splash screen, to open up. So make sure you pick and click that one. And that way, when the database starts up, the splash screen should be the first one to open. So down the bottom of that panel is an OK button. So naturally, you just click on that. And then that's all finished with. And Access will pop up this message in a window that we've got to close the database and reopen it before we can see any of these changes. All right, so just click OK on that message to make it go away. Do a save on your work and then do that file button again, but this time don't go to options, go to close. Which is going to close down the database, and you'll also have to close down the Access application. So once the database is closed, you've got a blank Access screen, just hit that usual window X up the very top right hand corner just to close down Access as well. Now we're going to start up the database again. So go into Windows Explorer, File Explorer. Here's our folder where all our work is for this project, and that's the one we're working on at the moment. So double click on that one, just like you would to double click to open up a Word or an Excel or a PowerPoint or anything else. So double click on your saved database. And what should happen is that the splash screen is going to open up and display for 4 seconds, but the splash screen is kind of opening up a bit on top of the ribbon, which kind of looks a bit ugly. It's not kind of down in here, which would be nicer. But look, we're going to fix that and change it later on when we hide the ribbon. So that's not actually a problem. So you don't really need to do anything about that. That should stay there for 4 seconds. And then you should see that it closes down and we get our main menu form opened up. Now, if that's really annoying that this is up there in the ribbon at the moment, if you go into the properties on the splash screen in design view and just put auto center equals no, that will fix it so it's down in the gray area. but that will kind of mess things up later when we hide the ribbon. So look, we suggest you don't do that at this stage. Just live with it for now, opening up on top of the ribbon, because later on it's all going to get fixed. But if you really, really hate it there, you can put auto center equals no. But remember, later on, it's your responsibility to remember to put auto center back onto yes when we're doing all the hide the ribbon part of the course. So that's it for the splash screen. That's all sweet and working, doing its little 4-second thing before the main menu pops up. But we want to kind of tidy up this working area on the screen, because the end user, the client, doesn't really need that left-hand side navigation pane. All right, so we're going to remove all that, and we're also going to hide the ribbon. So these are the two things we're going to do. We're going to fix it up so that when it starts up doing that double clicking, we won't see this navigation pane here, and we won't see the ribbon up the top, this bit here. And you would have noticed that when we started the lesson and showed you how the final product worked, that's what happened. We didn't have any of this. We just had the dog club on a gray background. So this is what we need to do. Now, first we're going to work on the navigation pane, then we'll work on the ribbon. And of course, when it does its little 4-second thing, and then you get the main menu won't have the ribbon or this navigation pane either. So it's all going to look nice and clean and neat, like a proper application, not like something we're just working on in Microsoft Access at the moment, building for someone. It's going to be more like the finished item, which we can deliver to the client, which is what we're going to tidy up and finish in the next lesson. But we're going to do a lot of the work right here, right now, okay? So go to File, then Options, and then Current Database, and we go to navigation pane and we untick it. So remember how we did our file and went right down the very bottom to options, and we got on our current database. This time you just need to scroll down a bit till you find this thing about navigation. You should see navigation, and there's a display navigation pane. It'll have a little tick in it. If you click on that box and turn it off so it's all gray like this, so that it is unticked, there is no tick, that's going to stop that navigation pane coming up in Access. All right, so do that and then click OK. And there are other navigation options here. So if you click that button, if you still wanted to have your navigation pane, but you didn't want the client or people that use the database to go in and mess with the members and dogs tables, all right, you wanted them to only use the forms, we could actually click here on all of these so that they can't do any tables, all right? And we can change that they can only look at the forms and look at the reports or something like that. But look, we're just going to turn the navigation pane completely off, because we've got our beautiful, sweet main menu that we built in the last lesson, and they can use that to go everywhere. They don't need that ugly navigation pane down the side. So don't worry about these navigation options, just untick that box there, and that will do everything we need to do. So Access will give us the usual message that we need to close and reopen the database. So when we do that closing down and then go back to Windows File Explorer and double click it to start it up, it does this little 4-second thing, splash, splash, and then we see this main menu here. You'll notice that there is no navigation side panel, okay? So that's all been successful, and it's looking better already, looking nice and clean here, like an application, not just like some Microsoft thing you're working on. Now, what happens though if we need to open the navigation pane because we need to go to something to work on it? Well, there's a couple of ways of getting around the navigation pane not being there. The first thing is that when you're in File Explorer and you're going to double click to open your database, just push your finger down on the Shift key on your keyboard and keep it down there for a while until the database is finished loading and opening up. And you should find you've got your ribbon and your navigation panel there. Or if you're just sitting like this, where it's on the screen and the navigation pane isn't there, there's an F11, a function key up the top of your keyboard. You can just press that F11 key and this navigation pane will reappear. And if you press F11 again, it'll kind of go away, okay? So there is an F11 key you can press that turns on and off the navigation. All right, so don't panic, we still can get to navigation when we need it. Now, we need to now look at the other part of the equation, which was hiding the ribbon up the top. So I've hidden the bit down the side, now we're going to hide the bit up the top, hiding the ribbon. So the first step is we need to modify that splash screen so that when that splash screen loads up, it's going to hide the ribbon. So remember we had a timer event to make it hang around for 4 seconds. We need another event, but we're not going to put on the timer because that's no good. That'll do it right at the end. We need to put on the onload event, which will do it right at the start, okay? So press that F11, or you might have to press the function key and the F11 key if you're on a laptop, and you should get this navigation pane showing again. And to work on the splash screen, you need to right click on the splash screen here and then pick design view, all right? Now, if you didn't want to do that and instead you double clicked on this splash screen just like we open up a normal form in form view, then we can change the design view to work on it. There will be something that happens because we've got that modal stuff on. What's going to happen is that it'll actually just open up and do its 4-second thing and disappear again. And the same in layout view, okay? So we're at a stage now, what we've done with that navigation screen, we can only work on it in design view. And the only way we can get to design view for it is to just single click here to highlight it in the navigation pane and right click and then click on design view, all right? So that's what we need to do. Just single click to highlight it there in pink, and then right click on it with the mouse and go into design view, and it'll open up. And remember, again, don't worry about how this looks. It's actually all okay. It's just that we're in design view, which for some reason has made it all squishy. All right, so that's how we get into design view to work on this. Now in design view, on the splash screen, we need to go to the property sheet. So make sure you click the property sheet icon up the top. So you need to be on the design tab, obviously. Hopefully these things are all familiar to you now. And underneath the event tab for the form, there's an onload event, okay? We used the on timer one way down here before. We're going to use the onload one this time. So where that onload event is, just click in this blank box here, which will bring up the builder button, the triple dots button, the dot button, and then single click to select code builder. We're actually going to do something new, code builder. And you have to be in design view to do code builder. Even if we get into layout view without it doing its 6-second thing, it wouldn't let us into code builder anyway. So just remember, to do code, you always need to be in design view anyway. So we're in design view, we're going to get into the code builder. And what it does is it opens up a whole new application on top of your Microsoft Access one. So you've got to be very careful. This is not Microsoft Access. This is Microsoft Visual Basics for applications. This is VBA, another Microsoft product and application. So it's completely separate to Access. We've got to be very careful while we're on here. It does have, after we finish doing our code in this window, we use this blue save icon up here to save it. All right, so that's an important feature of this application. Now down here, there's a whole lot of properties, but these are not Access properties, okay? So don't go messing with them. Don't go down here at all and do not change any of these properties, all right? So there's a lot of do nots while you're using this screen, because it's very easy if you go poking around in here and start picking and clicking and messing with things, you're going to mess up your whole Access database, which we don't want to do because we've already been doing 37 minutes of work, which we don't want to have to repeat, okay? So don't mess with those properties. Don't mess with any of these other buttons along here either, okay? We're just going to use the save button, and after we've done save, we're just going to use this X close button up here, all right? So they're the only two things we're going to do. Don't go messing with these ones because you could get into a mess doing it. Now this little gap here, Access is, or VBA, this other application that opened up, it's kind of pre-written the code for us, but we have a little blank line here and the cursor's there ready for us, ready and waiting for us to do the code that we want to have, okay? So that's where you type your code. And again, don't go messing around. Don't type any code anywhere else in this screen or little hello messages or whatever. Only type on this line that VBA has given us. Don't go messing around. Don't change this one private subform load, and don't change this end sub, and don't change anything up here. Just in this line is where we're going to type some code, all right? So just if you stick to those rules, you'll be fine and you won't mess anything up. Now the code we need to type in is this code, do CMD. So this is talking about a command that we're doing, and it involves with whether we show certain tools and items on the screen. And the one we're talking about is the ribbon, because the ribbon does have a whole lot of tools on it, as we've seen. And we're going to set it to AC toolbar no, so access toolbar no, which means we're not going to display the ribbon, okay? So show the toolbar the ribbon, and the answer's no, is basically what that code is saying. And that's what we need to carefully type in that little gap that VBA made for us. So you've got to carefully type in that with the uppercase, lowercase, the dot, all the things exactly as they are, like that. Now, if you mess it up and you don't make a little typo, like forget to put that quote on or something like that, it'll probably make this writing red to point out where the error is, all right? So as long as that code's all black like this, that means that you don't have any errors and you should be okay. If you make a typo, you'll see a little red markings here showing you where it's wrong, and you'll need to double check it. Now, once we've typed that in, we just do the save button and this X up the top to close it, all right? And then we're done with our first little bit of VBA coding that we've done in the course. We've done computer programming coding, aren't we? So clever. This is great. So we save the splash form and we close the database. We do a file and close, and also completely close down access as well, just by clicking its X up the top right hand corner. Then we're going to do our normal double clicking in Windows Explorer, and what should happen is the splash screen opens up and we don't have any navigation bar down the side, and we don't have any ugly ribbon up the top. All we have is our little splishy splash wet dogs there that have been for a splish and a splash at the beach on that particular day for that dog club event we went along to. It's not all about the dogs. Stop talking about dogs. I'm obsessed with dogs. I love dogs, in case you haven't noticed. This looks good, but there is a problem because we want to work on our database. We don't have any ribbon to get to any of the tools. So we won't be able to do anything. So that's not going to be too good. So we'll have to find a way around that. So the fact that we haven't got a ribbon, we need to turn the ribbon back on so that we can go and work on our main menu and do other things if we need to. Now, we cannot even add those ribbon buttons to show the ribbon and hide the ribbon because we don't have an access ribbon to get to the button tool to actually make a button. So we've really got ourselves in a mess here. But there's a way to open the database and bypass all the startup settings that we've made at the moment to hide the ribbon and hide the navigation pane. And we did speak about this earlier in the lesson, but we'll speak about it again now because it's really important. It's the only way we can get into our database and make some more changes is by using this method. And what the little method is you click once to highlight the database you want to open. So don't double click it yet, just click it once so it's highlighted. Then the shift key on your keyboard, you put your left hand on that and just hold that shift key down and keep it held down. And double click on this to start it up. Now keep the shift key held down until access and the application is fully started up. On my computer, you see a little flash here. This all kind of flashes when it's finished loading up. But look, as a rule, let's say just wait 5 seconds. That should be enough. Or 10 seconds should be a maximum amount to wait with your finger on shift, and then it should be okay. And what will happen is when it opens up, hooray, we've got the ribbon and we've got the usual navigation pane, so we can get down to our splash screen and to our main menu, and we can get to our main menu and open up and get these ribbon buttons on it and stuff. All right, so if you've got problems with your database, you've turned all these things off and it's a plain screen, which is beautiful, and that's the way it's supposed to look. I remember, hold down the shift key and double click to start it up, and it'll just bypass all those settings you've done, and you'll have all your Access work tools so that you can do some work in Access. So let's get on with it instead of talking so much and do some more work in Access. Now, where are we at? 43 minutes. You might want to take a break right now because where we're at is we've started up our database and we're going to do some work on the main menu form, getting these ribbon buttons. And then after that, it's just a quick little job to tidy up our 3 forms, and then the lesson is done. So this might be a good time to take a break and use the video timeline to come back later. Okay, so welcome back, and here we go. The client also needs the ribbon. It's not just us guys who want to work on the database. The finished version, which we're going to deliver to the client, they need to turn the ribbon on, because if they want to print out a report they've got on the screen or do a file save as PDF to make a PDF of the report to email out to people, they need to have the ribbon there to do that as well. So we need these show and hide ribbons on the main menu. So at the moment, the main menu looks like this, okay, where we've got all our buttons to click to go to different things, which we saw in the last lesson. But what we're going to do is we're going to just add another rectangle down the bottom here and have two buttons, show the ribbon and hide the ribbon, okay? So we're going to have those two buttons there, and that's what we're building in this section of the lesson. And what will happen is you'll be able to make the ribbon show up so you can do your work, and then you can hide the ribbon to get it out of the way later on. All right, so let's get into it. So we need to open that main menu form in layout view and stretch it down at the bottom. So opening it up in layout view, remember we talked about these three views, and I should have put this slide much earlier in the lesson for people that maybe haven't done our full access course and aren't as experienced. But the middle view here is layout view. That's the one we're working on at the moment. We do a lot of our work in layout view. We change this right hand one design view when we have to. When we want to preview the finished work, that's when we go to this first one, form view. Okay, so that's what they're all about. We need to be on this middle one, layout view. So get in the layout view, and we've just stretched it down here at the bottom using our mouse, just so we got room here to put that rectangle and those two buttons, all right? So that's why we've gone into layout view to do that. And then to make sure those changes get saved, click that save icon up the top left-hand corner. And in the space down here, like we just said, that's where we're going to make this rectangle and put the two buttons onto it. But we need to do this work in design view. So we just went into layout view and made it bigger and saved it. Now we need to click on this bottom right hand corner of access screen. There's a little thing there with a pen, the right hand one down the very bottom corner. Click on that and get into design view. Or you can, I think, always just right click on the form and pick design view. Right mouse click is another way to get in as well. All right, so once we're in design view, we need to go onto the design tab, and that'll show the first of the many tools available in design view, which are not available in layout view. Layout view only has a few simple tools. Design view has the whole set, and we need the whole set for what we're doing, because we need to click on that arrow and get the second row of tools, and the one we need is a rectangle. So you click on this rectangle here. The normal tool which Access is on is the mouse arrow, so that we can go around the form and click on things and highlight them in orange. We want to get off that mouse arrow and onto the rectangle tool, so we want to draw ourselves a rectangle, all right, onto the screen. So hold down your left mouse button, and you should be able to just drag out, because we went on that rectangle tool, it'll drag out an orange box here, which is going to be our rectangle. All right, if you're not getting that orange box, just try go back to those tools again and make sure you are clicked on the rectangle tool when you do it. Now the color, the background color of that, we want it to match the background color of the heading. And what we need to do that is change to the format tab and go to this paint bucket, and they're the standard colors. Now, ours is not in these standard colors, so we go to more colors. So you've got to click more colors here, which will open up this screen. This screen has two tabs, the custom and standard. We need to make sure we're on the standard tab on this pop-up screen. And the pink color we chose is this one right in here, just here. Okay, so there's some orangey pinkies, there's some pinky pinkies. It's this one here. That's going to match up with the top bar we've already got on the screen. So we do all that and we click OK. And what should happen is we've got this pink rectangle here, which matches up the same color as the top one, which we've already had on there for a previous lesson. So now we've done that stuff in design view, and we can change back to layout view, because layout view is just a little bit simpler to work in. So we usually just pop over to design view when we have to do our stuff, then jump back into layout view. So click on this middle one to be in layout view. And in layout view, we're going to do a label. No, sorry, a button. So we've got this thing with 4 X's on, and obviously that's a button. Okay, that's a button in Access. So we're going to click on that to make that the active tool, and then just click down here. All right, so just click anywhere down where we've made our pink new rectangle, our brand new rectangle. We're now going to add a button onto it. So it's the 4XXXXX one. Click on that to make it active. Click down here on the form, and what will happen is, what does Access do? In some versions, Access will start up this wizard, which helps you set up the button. Now, the version we've got, this 365 version, doesn't seem to have the wizard, so we're not using the wizard. So what you need to do, if that wizard does open up this pop-up box asking you to click and pick things, just click cancel on that, all right? It'll say on the box that it is the wizard. So just click the cancel button that's on that box and close the wizard, because we're going to do it another way, all right? And what'll happen is probably a button has been put up the left-hand corner. I don't know what goes on here, but if we're in layout view, for some reason, the version of Access I've got, and you click down here to put a button, it doesn't put it down there. Access throws it up into the top left-hand corner. But if you're in design view, I've noticed that you click down here and it does put the button down there like it should. So I don't know, in layout view, for some reason, it wants to put up in the corner. We've seen this in other lessons we've done. Easy peasy, just grab it with your mouse when it's got the cross sign on it, drag it down here to where it's supposed to be, kicking and dragging, like dragging a little child out of bed in the morning, and get it to where you need it down here. And if you click in it once and click again, then you can change the typing from that command whatever to have it say show ribbon. So we're going to put show ribbon in for its name, and we can mouse stretch it to make it bigger or smaller if we need to as well. And now we're popping over to design view. All right, so make sure you click the bottom right-hand corner one here to go into design view, because in design view, we're going to build the code event, which is going to bring back that ribbon and show it to us, all right? So that has to be highlighted in orange. So we're flicking over to design view, clicking on our button so it's highlighted in orange. Then we're right-clicking on our button and getting to the build event. And on the build event, we have to be in design view to get the code builder, and we're going to be adding this code, which is very much like the last code we added actually. Now, when it opens up the code builder, when you pick code builder and it opens it up, we've got this here, and we need to add in that. Okay, so we saw the code builder before, we've used it. So remember, it opens up and there'll be a blank line here. And in that blank line, that's what we're putting. So we're putting that we want to have AC toolbar yes. So having that yes on the end means that for that toolbar that's the ribbon one up the top of the screen, the answer is yes. We want to be able to see that. Okay, so that's going to turn the ribbon on. That's the code you need. So type that in very carefully. If it's all black like this, it's all good. And you can click that save button, remember that blue save, and the X up the top right hand corner here. If it's got little red marks on it and stuff somewhere, you need to check it very thoroughly and make sure it looks exactly like this or like this, so that it's correct. And then that is done for that button. So we're now ready to test that show ribbon button. So save and then close down your main menu form. And then in that navigator pane, if it's not showing, remember you can use that F11 key to make it show up. Where we've got splash screen there, just double click on the splash screen to get it going, and we should see that the splash screen opens up. 4 seconds later, our main menu opens up. We've got the show ribbon button on there, and if we click on that show ribbon button, what should happen is that suddenly the ribbon will show up. So that's another shot of our form, a little bit smaller, and the ribbons come up the top, all right? So that does turn the ribbon on, the button does all work, so that's really good. But we also need another button now, because we don't want that ugly ribbon hanging around all the time. The whole idea was to get rid of it and have a cleaner work face like this one up the top here. So we want to be able to turn it back off again. So we're going to make another button and have that as the hide ribbon button, okay? So just follow all those same steps to make a button where we, get on the 4X, XXXX button tool and get our button on our form, drag it down so it's in position. We're going to call that button hide ribbon. Now, when we go into the code builder, what'll happen is it'll already have the code for the one you've just done, and we need to put the code for hiding it just here on the next one, okay? So what it does is, this form is the main menu form, and any code we add for any buttons or any items on the form, it all goes into the same sort of editing screen in Visual Basic applications, right? In VBA, it's all on the same screen. We don't get a fresh new screen for every button or thing we add onto the form. Everything for form main menu is on here. So this is actually the one we did before when we were hiding the ribbon. And this is the one, sorry, that was the one we were doing before for showing the ribbon because we had toolbar yes. And now we need to type this one in. So when you do the code builder, it'll open up, it'll notice that your button is actually command 67 and you need to type this in. All right, so when you finish, it should have that one you did a while ago on the hide ribbon, on the show ribbon button, and this one should be the one we're doing now for the hide ribbon button, okay? So hopefully I've got myself confused there, but I haven't got you two confused. All right, so don't be alarmed when you see this old code you've already done there already. There'll be a blank line here and you just need to put this one in, okay, which is going to be the hide ribbon button. And what should happen then is if we save and change over to form view, we need to check they're both working. So there we are in form view and we can see our form and the ribbon is there. So what we'd probably want to do is click this hide ribbon button and try hiding it. So we click that and the ribbon does go away. It's now hidden. And now that we've hidden the ribbon, we maybe want to get it back to do some report printing. So we should try this one, the show ribbon button. So click on the show ribbon button and what should happen is that your ribbon should now show up the top. So you need to test your two buttons you've made and make sure they're actually working, that you can hide the ribbon and you can show the ribbon. All right, and that will be the whole splash screen system finished now. So, okay, we did the splash screen and got that all working, but because the splash screen was turning off the ribbon at the top to make things look better, and then we realized, oh, that's nice because the main menu opens up like this middle one here and there's no ribbon up the top. So that looks really nice, looks a lot better than normal. But then we realized, oh, hang on, we need the ribbon if we're printing reports. So that led us to having to make these two buttons to be able to show and hide the ribbon, okay? So that was a bit of extra work that all stemmed out of that or came out of that as a consequence. Now there's one more thing to do for this lesson, but this is very quick and easy, and that's tidying up the menu and the data forms, okay? So how do you tidy up these forms? Just to remove some unnecessary form layout features and make them look better. So we don't need this minimize and maximize buttons. We don't need those because we want this form just to stay this size and for people to work on it on the screen, okay? So we don't need those. And this little annoying kind of white bar down the side of an arrow is some sort of access. That's the access record selector, and we don't need that one either. All right, so we're going to just remove both of these. And how you remove them from a form is just go to the properties, remember, use your down arrow, make sure it's on the whole form. So I've opened up the members form, we've gone into either design view or layout view and got the properties sheet up. Make sure we're working on the whole form by having this set to form. We're on the format tab. We just want record selectors no, which will get rid of this ugly white thing down the side here. Scroll bars neither, which will make sure we don't have any bars here for doing scrolling, and min max buttons none, okay, which will get rid of those two buttons up the top. So you need to set those three properties on the format tab for the form exactly like that. And then what will happen is when we look at our form, it just looks a lot nicer, okay? It looks like this. We just have it very simple up the top. You just hit the close button to close it. We don't have that side record selector, which we don't really need. So it's just a little tidying up to make our forms cleaner. And make sure you do the other two forms as well. So we've done that on the main menu. We don't have that sidey thing anymore. We don't have scroll bars. We don't have any kind of bar across the bottom for scrolling. And this one's all cleaned up as well. Okay, so do the other two forms just by changing those three properties, and then we're done. Now we did think originally that we could do this lesson and get it all client ready in one lesson, but then we realized that it's a bit more work than what we thought it was. So it would take a bit longer to explain it than what we thought it would. You see, this is a 58-minute video already. So if we'd gone on with the client stuff, I mean, it'd be an hour-and-a-half video, which would be ridiculous. So we're going to have that as a separate lesson. So where we're at is we need to save our database. So do file and save as, like we've done in previous lessons, and make sure you do ACCDB for the type. It's not over yet because we need to navigate to where our stuff is. So this one is lesson 9 splash screen, that's our folder, and we're just putting it in here and calling it splash screen finished like that and clicking the save button. If Access tells us to replace it, we'll just say yes. So you do the same thing, just say yes to replace it. Now where we're going to next, we've done all of these things in the previous lesson, and that's the order you should have done them in. So if you're ever wondering, oh gee, I don't really understand that, or I don't remember that, or what's Passy talking about that we've done all that before, Okay, if it's not making sense, go to the Passie's World of ICT website and click on MS Access SDC. And when you do that, you can scroll down and these are the lessons and this is the order you should have done them in. All right, so we should have done like reports and screen forms, lists, getting the images on the form. And this is where we did that main menu. So when I'm talking about, I remember how we made rectangles in the main menu and all that, that's a lesson which you should have done. Now this one here isn't on the website yet because we haven't finished it, but that's going to be the opening splash screen. Then there'll be one more lesson coming up down here about making the client database, all right, making it client ready. But that's the order you need to do them in because each one builds on the other one. And if you haven't done, like when we did the main switchboard menu, if you hadn't done adding images, you wouldn't know how to get the dog image for the main menu and all this sort of thing. So it's best to do them in order. And if you're confused about it, go to our website. You can also kind of go to the YouTube channel and look at the playlist that's for the dog club, the beginner course, and kind of flick along like here. Internet's very slow today, but I think that's going to finish at main menu. I think YouTube only lets you do 2 or 3 of them maybe, and we can't get to all of them anyway. Okay, you have to kind of go this play all and stuff. So look, maybe you can figure it out from YouTube, the order of the lessons. It's just kind of going from left to right. But if you can't, remember, just on the website, okay, it's got all of those lessons. And when you click to go into a lesson, like let's go into that main menu lesson, for example, there's going to be an outline of the lesson. Okay, our internet is very slow. It's slow today. All right, so it's going to tell you a bit about what the lesson was all about. And then it'll have the video that you can watch for the lesson. And then it's got the downloads as well. Now the downloads, if you want to get just one for you to look at, it's $2 Australian, $1.20 US, like really cheap. If you're a teacher and need it for your class of students, look, US $3, okay, so that's very cheap. And so please consider buying these downloads. It takes you to PayPal, which is a secure site, so you're not going to get scammed or lose credit card details or anything like that. And look, you know, it's not much money, but buy a guy a cup of coffee. I mean, I'm only working part-time at the moment because of the coronavirus. I've got no photography business, so I can't go out and even have a cup of coffee. All right, I need money, please. Please send me money for a cup of coffee at least. All right, but it'll help you as students. It'll help your learning. That's the main thing. It's all about your learning. It's not about me drinking coffee and my coffee addiction, all right? So just consider the downloads. We better get this lesson wrapped up. We're just ranting and ranting. All right, so create the opening splash screen for the application. That's what we've just done. I won't clap because remember last time I clapped on the last video, the dog came running in and went psycho for some reason. But there is one more lesson that we're looking at, which is finalizing the application to make it client ready. So you should subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on that lesson. That's what we just talked about, where you can find the course materials and the downloads and what order you need to do everything in. So that is the end of the opening splash screen lesson. I'm sure it's been really useful to you. Give it a big thumbs up because that helps us out on YouTube, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on that lesson about how we're going to finish this thing off and get it all client ready and looking super clean and ready to deliver to Juanita to run her dog club. All right, so subscribe, and we'll see you in the next lesson.